Um, Today I'm just going to talk about how I weigh my life up as a martial art instructor and business and in my family and just the way I do things and think. Today a guy said to me, "You make nothing out of martial arts. It's wasting your time. Look how old you are and you're throwing this time away." To me, that kind of a person is like, it's like talking to this rock, because the essence of karate and Budo is a way of life. It's a methodology in which we follow it. For me, I probably and I'm one of the ones that can talk about it because I have succeeded in making money from martial arts and making a strong business and building one of the largest karate organizations in the world. So I think I have the methodology to try and explain it, and I'm going to try and explain how I did it and my concept of thinking, because sometimes talking to people's like that, and you can't they just, people just don't understand. They can't comprehend. I came to this country with nothing, not a cent, and I've made more money than people can dream of, and I've lost more money than people can dream of, but I'm still here and I keep on moving forward. What gives me that drive is not from business, it's not from anything other than what I have learned on the floor in the dojo. How I adapt, how I move forward, how I adapt to a situation. Now, for example, martial arts. Here's an example for martial arts. A fighter, for instance, will probably start fighting around 16 years old, 18, 19, 22, peaking, going hard, 25. The whole concept is there are so many great fighters out there. I mean, brilliant fighters. Not just boxers, kickboxers, karate fighters, but you never hear of them. You don't see them after they've finished competing. You hear nothing from them, and then one day you see them, a guy who earned thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars even, in the ring, suddenly holding pads in a gym for $1,000 a month, something like that. And the reason it's happened is because in the time when you train to be a fighter, you're not training to be a teacher. So somehow along the line, you have to try and combine that all that time that you're training is assisting you in being a teacher. And that's the concept that I put to everything that I've done. And a guy said to me today, "Oh, there's thousands of more teachers around the world than there are in Japanese, more famous fighters, but you don't hear of them." And the reason being is because they haven't learnt the ability to pass on knowledge. Second, they haven't learnt the ability to market themselves. It's not just about being a great fighter. Top high-end earners in online marketing and in martial arts, some of them aren't great fighters. Some have never fought in their lives, but they're brilliant teachers. And they market themselves well and move on, and people actually feel they learn from these people, which is correct. When you teach, if the student can't walk out of there feeling he learned something, then you didn't teach. That's a fact. So the whole concept of being a teacher is being able to take all this knowledge, like here's all this knowledge, put it all into here, and utilize it. Not just learn these things and then forget them. What's going to happen is when you're my age and you can't do what you used to do, I can't do the flying somersaults I used to do and the fancy kicking that I used to do when I was young. So when you stand on the floor and you can't demonstrate that, and you don't have the ability to teach it, because before you just showed it, how do you teach? you've lost the biggest engine you had. So the concept of it is, for me, was to develop a turning heel kick at Joe Damawashigiri as fast as I could. And I have my diaries from when I was 20 years old, how I used to write how I got more speed doing this, how I found to do this, how I found this worked for me. And I learned to break each technique down like a scientist, I suppose is the word. And that's the ability that made it possible for me to teach. I've had a lot of world champions. Everybody knows I train some of the best in the world. And the reason being is when they come into my dojo, I don't turn around and say, okay, that's no good, you got to do it this way. I'm not interested in doing it. What I do is I look at them first on the bag, on the pads, shadow boxing, doing their katas, doing whatever it is. And then I see to what they have and I build on that. I make an analysis of what they have and I build on it. The same goes with business. For instance, using the example today that happened, an artist would design a beautiful, beautiful painting. And he would feel this value in that painting because of the time he put into it and because of the art and the thought, hours and hours. Then another man goes along and he gets it off the internet, sends his idea off to someone in 5 minutes, they send it back and you have it. What is the difference in the value? The difference in the value is only monetary as to what it can do and its visual aspect. So, for instance, if this saves me time and gives me the same visual effect as this, and for less money, then is not this the best choice? The artist would say no because I spent time and did this. The businessman would say yes, time is money, I did this. So where do you put that combination in? The martial arts is exactly the same. Where someone said to me today, you wasted your time doing martial arts because you make money from all the businesses you do. I tell you now that is all, well, I can't say it on screen, but that is not correct. Every business I have made through the philosophy of how I do my martial arts. By putting things in order and sequence, as you would, for instance, kata, for instance. The concept of kata is to develop movement and an understanding of movement. And the kata has a bunkai, has a practicality. Every move in the kata has a purpose. Now, of course, some of the movements that we use, you can't use in fighting anymore. But the adaptation of those movements can be. The adaptation of movement is based on your, as a teacher or a student's, understanding. So when you see someone say, oh, you're punching like this, you can't do in a real fight. You don't punch like that in a real fight. The concept of that is to teach you how to create power in your punch. And then you develop it to how it's required for whatever sport you're doing, whether it's self-defense, whether it's points fighting, whatever. Boxing, whatever. You take the principle behind it and you develop on it. Now, for instance, in your life, business-wise, this is how I do mine. And you've probably seen this before because I've seen other people on the internet do the same philosophy. This was something that a famous teacher used to use. Actually, his name was Confucius. And this was his concept of how life made sense to him. And when you explained it. Okay, now for example, I have all these things here in front of me. If I take these, the rocks, and I put all the rocks in like that, it's almost full. My life is almost full with these rocks. Okay? Then I'm going to take these little rocks and I'm going to fill it up again like this. You See, the little pebbles. And it's full to the top. I got no more room left, it's full to the top. But then I'm gonna take the rice and I'm gonna put the rice on it. And I'm gonna put a whole glass of rice in here. Good, nearly done, like that. Whole glass of rice. Shake it down. That's my life. That there is my life. First of all, the big rocks represent my family, the things that mean most to me, my family, my son, my health, my family's health, the ability for my family to sustain beyond when I am dead, the ability for me when I'm 80 years old and maybe can't walk anymore or something like that, to be able to look after myself and my family without being a burden. The big rocks represent the most important things in your life, the things that are close to you. The next size rocks, the pebbles, represent everything around you. Okay, to me they represent business, motorbike shop, the Zen medical center, all the business side of things. People that work with me, people that are part of my businesses, my cars, my boats, everything is there. My rocks, they're my little rocks. The rice represents all the small things, the things that don't really matter, that whether you have today or tomorrow are not going to affect you. They're the people that pull you down and the people that have no idea on what it is that you need to, what you do or why you do what you do. Your watch, your clothes, having to go to a fancy restaurant, or these are the little things in life that have no meaning. So when you put it in the right concept, if I was to take all that out now and first put the rice in, the small things, and then the pebbles for the business, and then worry about the big things later, this would overflow. There would not be enough space for the big rocks, because the bottom will be filled up and compacted with all the little things that drive you crazy in life. So that's the concept of it. The concept is you first. You first. Your family first. How you're going to survive first. Second of all, the businesses that create it. All your things you do that you enjoy doing. Your second. Third, all the outside influence, all the little things that just not necessary. And now you're going to say, what's the use of a beer? Look. Last of all, you take your beer and you fill it in there. Filling up, it's filling up. Finish. There you go. There's the beer. What's the beer got to do with it? Always have time after all your work and everything else to have a beer with your friends. That's the concept of the beer. Always have time to enjoy a little. You must enjoy. The enjoyment soaks from the top all the way down to the bottom, to your big rocks, and refreshes your life. Not saying beer is going to refresh your life, and the Chinese demonstration is with wine, okay? But I'm just using this as a signal, because beer signifies that people sit together and have a beer and relax and talk about things. Relaxation, enjoyment in life is important. You can't just wake up in the morning, go somewhere, sit down, work, go home, sleep, wake up in the morning, go in. Before you know it, you're my age and your life's passed by. So that's the concept behind my philosophy of teaching and how I do things. Now, when we get to karate now, I look at it in a different way. For instance, the tree over here, this tree. Karate is like a tree, for instance. Budo is like a tree. That tree is not going to get as big as it is by itself. First of all, the tree is the same process as your karate and your Budo. First of all, a seed is planted. That's your want to learn karate when you're a young kid or whenever. The seed is planted. From the seed, a root grows. You start getting strong through your Q grades. To the trunk of the tree starts growing as a shodan, as a black belt, as a teacher. It suddenly blossoms out. When it blossoms out, you're making your name. And if your tree cannot blossom out, you cannot make your name. That's the end of the process. When it shouldn't be. The end of the process is where the branch blossoms out, the seeds drop into the ground, new trees grow from your tree. That's the concept of being a teacher of martial arts. People that do not understand that I suppose you could, the most common way to say it would be the marketing value. People do not understand why we do karate. The same principle is with business. You cannot hold pads at my age, 10 rounds a day, 20 rounds a day. So what happens when that champion's time that he can not spar anymore, second, he can't hold the pads anymore because of arthritis in the joints and he's 60, 70 years old. What does he do in the gym? Unless he can explain verbally with confidence how something is done, there is no place for him in that gym other than a photo on the wall. And that's the sad thing that happens. And that's the one thing that in martial arts, in karate and Budo and traditional martial arts, doesn't happen. Because you can teach martial arts till the day you drop dead. That's a fact. There is so much in it that you can do that. That has more monetary value in sustaining your longevity in life than anything else in this world. You have happiness. You're doing what you enjoy. In some cases, you've planted your seeds and you're creating enough revenue to put food on your table. That is the happiest point in someone's life. This year, with the coronavirus and that, even Junior said to me, he says, Dad, why don't we just stop doing everything? Just stop. We don't have to run a motorbike shop. We don't have to have the medical clinic. We don't have to sell our alcohol businesses, security, whatever it is we do. We can stay and do martial arts. But the problem is, every day that goes by in my life, I need a challenge. Because when I was young and doing the Ushidishi, for instance, with all my students, they will tell you the challenge was what made me feel good, pushing people to their limits. Now at my age, I can't do that. But I find a challenge in producing a product and taking it to the market in 10 days and creating revenue that supports what I love. To me, understanding the concept of how to blend it all is what will make you a great teacher. And I see so many out there that have that ability but cannot see it. And I watch the time just go past. For me, my time has passed. My prime is finished. You know, I'm dreaming if I'm going to stand up there the same as these young teachers that can do all these amazing things now. I'm dreaming. The things I used to do when I was young, okay. I did some really wacky things. I've done a lot of bad things in my life. Things that I don't want to talk about. Things I want to forget. But every piece of that past is a little piece in this bucket, in this little glass. Every piece of the past is in there, what created a full and fertile life that I have in this jar. Everything is in there. Without one of those pebbles or two of those pebbles, this lowers. The filling of it lowers. The fulfillment in my life lowers. If I take out two of the big rocks in here, the big pebbles, whoop, like that, I take this one out, look how much it dropped down. Look how much it dropped down. That's my fulfillment of life. It just disappeared. Oh, gee, what's happened? I've lost a bit of my life. And if I take that and put it on the top, there's nowhere for it. It's out of place. That's my concept of life, and it's like a ramble. It's quite long. I haven't really told anyone how I think, but what happened is I really get annoyed when I see people have so much to offer, so much skill, so much intelligence, and they just throw it away being stupid. So to me, you get to my age and you sit here and look at what you have, you will realize life ain't that long. It's very short. And for young people, it's hard for them to understand this. For people 35 years even, 40 years old, they don't understand this. But when you're 60 and over, you're going to understand it really clearly. Because all of a sudden, just think of this. Imagine you're my age. Imagine you're over 60 years old. And look how fast your past just flew past. In 10 years, just disappeared. Imagine 60, just say 68 years old. Now think of this. In 10 years' time, that puts 78 years old. Life's over. Life, throwing the legs over, Yushiro Mwashigiri, Toby Mwashigiri, they're gone. They're gone. Getting out there, scrambling on a motorbike in the dirt, it's gone. Getting in the ring, sparring, taking head punches, yeah, sure, they're gone. Jumping off the building into the pool, they're gone. Think about it. Life is so short. So it's important by the time you reach the age of retirement that your glass is full. Of course.